Hi everybody. So in the competitive class, let me start the new chapter from first year, that is morphology of flowering plants. Okay, so morphology of flowering plants. As you know, the definition of morphology is the study of external feature of the organism. Okay, so in the plants, the external features are like, you are going to study the external features like a stem, root, leaf, inflorescence, then flower, seed, fruit, and some families. Okay, so 3 families we are going to learn in this chapter. Okay, so let me brief the chapter before going to the actual competitive part. So that's enable you to just recall what are the things you learned there. Okay, so let me begin the chapter with the structure of embryo. Okay, so embryo is of 2 types based on how many cotyledons they have. That is monocotyledon embryo, monocot, and dicot embryo. So monocot have single cotyledon, whereas dicot have 2 cotyledon. So if you consider monocot seed, suppose if you take the example of maize, so here it has a single cotyledon called as a scutellum and embryo pod like this. And if you consider dicot seed, so you have micropyle and hilum there. Okay, and if you split open it, you can get the structure like this. Okay, so here these are the 2 cotyledons. So to the cotyledons, plumule part is attached and radical part is attached. Okay, so when you open, actually it in actual sense they are present like this. It's natural. When you open the seed, so radical and plumule you can find like this. Okay, so here is this part and this part is present like this. If you split open and make it germinate, you can observe like this. So so this is the monocot embryo. That monocot embryo consisting of the single cotyledon. This single cotyledon is scutellum and it has a plumule part. Here is a plumule, here is the coleoptile, and here is the coleorhiza, and you have plumule, sorry, radical part. So like this you studied the structure. So during germination, this part, so in the beginning radical came out during germination. So here also this radical came out first. Okay, so this is radical, here also radical. So now onwards the development is a little bit different. So here when you sow the seeds under the soil, suppose if it is a soil, so here the seed remains as it is in the underground and plumule came out like this. Okay, plumule came out outside. See there, seed never came out. The fruit or seed never came out, it is remained in the soil itself. But in this case, when the radical grows further, this cotyledon came out of the soil. Okay, and the lateral branches starts to grow. But here no lateral branches are going to be produced. So little further, this cotyledon the structure almost become like this. Okay, and you can observe the shoot system. So little further, next stage, in the next stage, leaves are going to be produced and cotyledon attached like this. Root further produces the branches. Okay, so now these are cotyledon. Okay, so like that there will be a growth in the plants after germination. But here the next stage, so let me write. So next stage, seed is gradually branched, tough leaves, roots are going to be produced here, and it enlarges in its size. So this is the next step. Okay, see the difference. In case of monocot, seed never came out. Seed never came out of the soil. It is present under the soil itself. This type of germination is called as hypogeal. Hypogeal means seed remain under the soil. But here seed came out of the soil. So it is called epigeal. So germination type. Dicot, it is epigeal, and for monocot it is hypogeal. And observe the diagram. So here root never get branched or produces the branches like that. So tufts of leaves are start produced from the base of a stem. Okay, whereas here it shows the further branches. Branches agide. Okay, so if it produces the main root, so from here it is a root, here it is the main root. So that main root is called taproot. Okay, but here there is no prominent major root. Okay, taproot enagirutte in the beginning itself. Okay, in the beginning itself it not developed further. Instead, from the base many branches are going to be produced. So stem na base elli irutto allindane branches start agutte. Okay, so this is fibrous. Okay, and this is first branch agittalla, the taproot. So here it is a secondary root, adra mele branch adre tertiary root. So like that branches are produced on the root. Okay, so here in both the case root is going to be developed from radicle. So radicle produces the root. The actual root are the roots which are produced from the radicle. If the roots are produced from any part of the plant other than radicle are called as adventitious roots. Adventitious roots. So adventitious roots andre suppose ಈಗ stem ಇದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, suppose this is the node and internode. From the stem, if roots are arised like this, so these are termed as adventitious root. If the roots, the actual roots are need to be produced only from the radicle, then only they are either taproot or fibrous root system. Other than this, any part of the plant start produces the root, then it is called as adventitious root. Okay, so this is about the root. Then how the root elongates. Okay, so here develop agutte andre at the tip they have some group of cells called as meristematic cells. So those meristematic cells helps in elongation. So okay, let's see the structure of root tip. In a root, that extreme tip is covered by some protective structure. That protective structure is called as root cap. This root cap is essential because these roots need to be grown in between the soil particles. Soil particle madhye grow aagta irಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. So if it is very smooth, it get damaged. That's why to protection they have root cap. So above the root cap, group of cells were present. So group of cells were present. They are actively dividing. So these group of cells are called as meristematic cells, and they are present. The region where the meristematic cells are present is called as meristematic zone. It's called as meristematic zone. So this meristematic zone undergo rapid division. But one more point, here few cells are present. Okay, they are called quiescent center. So this quiescent center are the meristematic cells. Even though they are meristematic cells, but they are not involved in division, or they are taking rest, because So when this part is get damaged, suppose ಏನೋ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಡ್ಯಾಮೇಜ್ ಆಯಿತು ಅಂದರೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಮೆರಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಕ್ವೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಶಲ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಡಿವೈಡ್. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ರೀಸನ್ ವೈ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಮಿಡಲ್. ರೂಟ್ ಟಿಪ್ನ, ಈಗ ರೂಟ್ ಟಿಪ್ ಇದು ಅಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಶುರುವಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇಲ್ಲೋ ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಸೇರ್ಕೊಂಡಿರುತ್ತೆ ಕ್ವೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್. ಓಕೆ, ದಟ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಡಿವಿಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಸೆಲ್ಸ್ ಲೇಟರ್. So after the cell undergo division, suppose this is a cell which undergo division means it produces 2 daughter cells. Okay, so these daughter cells, they will never be like this always. ಇದೇ ಥರ ಇರಲ್ಲ, they need to be elongate. So ಈ ರೀತಿ ಉದ್ದ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Then they start produces the cell wall material, they deposit a thick cell wall material, vacuole starts develops, then chromosome move to periphery. Okay, so next zone is, after this is the next zone. The next zone is zone of elongation. Okay, so ಇದು zone of elongation. So zone of elongation. Okay, so after that cell, according to their position, the cells which are present at the border, they become epidermis. The cells which are present in the middle, they become xylem and phloem. So that process of converting of meristematic cells into different is called a differentiation. So this cell elongates first. Okay, so after elongation, let me write in this order only. So this cell divide to form 2 cells. Okay, so this cell in the next step, okay, so the same kind of cells, they start elongates and they accumulate cell wall material as well. Okay, so after this the cells, according to their position, they become different types of cells. Suppose this is the cell where it modify into xylem or phloem like this. So ಈ ರೀತಿ ಮಾಡಿಫೈ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸಪೋಸ್ ಇದ್ರ ಪಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಸೆಲ್ ಬರೀತೀನಿ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಸೆಲ್ ಡಿವೈಡ್ ಆಗಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅನ್ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಡಿವಿಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇದ್ರ ಪಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಸೆಲ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ದಟ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯಾನಿಯನ್ ಸೆಲ್. ಸೊ ಲೈಕ್ ದಟ್ ಸೆಲ್ ಡಿವೈಡ್, ಇದು ಡಿವೈಡ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಡಿವೈಡ್ ಆಗಿ ಎಲಾಂಗೇಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸಾರಿ, ಇದು ಡಿವೈಡ್ ಆಗಿರೋ ಸೆಲ್ಸು. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಡಿವೈಡೆಡ್ ಸೆಲ್. ಸೊ ಹಿಯರ್ ಎಲಾಂಗೇಷನ್, ದೆನ್ ಇಟ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಗೋ ಮೆಚುರೇಷನ್. So that maturation process is called as differentiation. So ಆ ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ನ ನಾವು differentiation ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. So once it get differentiated, okay, it lose the ability of division. Okay, so ಇದಾದ ನಂತರ zone of maturation ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Okay, so zone of maturation. So below it is zone of elongation. Yeah, ಬರ್ದಿದ್ದೀನಲ್ವಾ, zone of elongation. So above this, after maturation, cell starts produces some structures. They are unicellular in nature. Those are called as root hairs. Those are called as root hairs. Okay, so root hairs formation ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. So remember, during after differentiation, suppose this is a epidermal cell. If it is get differentiated into epidermis, cell membrane. So since it is present at the border of a root, this starts elongate. It is the extension of root hair. So extension of epidermal cell, thin cell wall irutte. So here it develops very thin cell wall. Okay, so this is epidermis. Actually it is called as epiblema. This is root hair. So like this, root hair is going to be produced. Remember, root hair is meant for increase the surface area. Cell ನೋಡಿ ಇಷ್ಟೇ ಇದ್ರೆ ಕಡಿಮೆ ವಾಟರ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಉದ್ದ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಇಟ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಸ್ ದ ಸರ್ಫೇಸ್ ಏರಿಯಾ. ಇಟ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಸ್ ದ ಸರ್ಫೇಸ್ ಏರಿಯಾ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮೋರ್ ವಾಟರ್. ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್, ರೂಟ್ ಹೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ವೇರ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಇಸ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್, ನಾಟ್ ಥ್ರೂ ಔಟ್ ದ ರೂಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟುದ್ದ ಇರುತ್ತೋ ಅಷ್ಟುದ್ದದಲ್ಲೂ it never absorb the water. ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ thick stem ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Cell wall is very thick. Only root hair have very thin cell wall and they have specialized for water and mineral absorption. Okay, so like this plant grows further into stem, leaves and start produces the flower and fruit. Okay, so hope you understand this development mechanism. Let's move on to the actual root and their modification briefly. Okay. Okay. The main function of root is root function. So ಏನು ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ, the main function of the root is anchoring. So anchoring ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ನ ಗಟ್ಟಿಯಾಗಿ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟನ್ನ ಗಟ್ಟಿಯಾಗಿ ಸಾಯಿಲಲ್ಲಿ ಹಿಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕೆ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. Anchoring is the main function. Apart from that, it also helps in absorption. It also helps in absorption of water and minerals. So these are the main steps. Then a root is positively geotrophic. Root is positively geotrophic. That means it grows towards the earth, and negatively phototrophic. It grows away from the light ಇಂದ away ಅಂದರೆ ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಲೈಟ್ ಪೆನೆಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಇರಲ್ಲ, ಲೈಟ್ ಇರೋ ಕಡೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಗ್ರೋ ಆಗಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನೋ ಥರ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಪಾಸಿಟಿವ್ ಜಿಯೋಟ್ರೋಪಿಕ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ನೆಗೆಟಿವ್ಲಿ ಫೋಟೋಟ್ರೋಪಿಕ್. ಓಕೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಯೂಶ್ವಲಿ ರೂಟ್ don't have cuticle. ಇದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಕ್ಯೂಟಿಕಲ್ ಇರಲ್ಲ. ದೆನ್ ಇಟ್ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ನೋಡ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇಂಟರ್ನೋಡ್ಸ್ ನೆನಪಿ, ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಇದು. ನೋಡ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ಇಂಟರ್ನೋಡ್ಸ್ ಇರಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ನಲ್ಲಿ, ರೂಟಲ್ಲಿ. ಓಕೆ. ದೆನ್ ಮಾಡಿಫಿಕೇಷನ್ಸ್. ಈ ಮೇಜರ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ರೂಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ವಿತ್ ಮಾಡಿಫೈಡ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್. ಓಕೆ. ಸೊ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಫುಡ್ ಸ್ಟೋರೇಜಿಗಿರ್ಬೋದು. ದೆನ್ ಇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಫೈ ಫಾರ್ ಮೆಕ್ಯಾನಿಕಲ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್. It gives mechanical support other than anchoring. Then it perform respiration as well, specially modified root for respiration, and specially modified root for photosynthesis. Of course, it's amazing. It seems amazing because root is present under the soil, but how it can perform the photosynthesis? Of course, some roots were there. They meant for photosynthesis. Okay, let me see. So food storage. Really, let me take it as a taproot modification as well as adventitious root modification. So two types are there, adventitious and taproot. So food storage, taproot andre the main taproot is modified to store the food. This is one thing. Okay, so can observe the character here. Then so this is for this one only. Okay, so these are the three different types of roots which are meant for food storage modification. One is a fusiform. So fusiform andre eradu tapering end irutte, that is called a fusiform. And this one is a conical, inverted conical shape, that is a conical form. This is called napiform. So these are the three different types of modification of root for food storage. So fusiform ಎರಡು ಕಡೆ tapering end ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Tapers middle ಅಲ್ಲಿ bulge ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, suddenly tapers. Broad at the base, suddenly tapers. Broad at the base, enlarge in the middle, suddenly tapers. So these are the three different types of modification of root for food storage. So it is carrot, then radish, either beetroot or turnip are the example. Then adventitious root modification. So adventitious root modification for food storage. So here can give the example of sweet potato. Sweet potato is example for adventitious root modification for food storage. Okay. So ಅದೇ ಥರ in case of asparagus, the clusters of roots were present. Okay, like asparagus tubers. So tubers in asparagus, they're also example for adventitious root modification where they store the food. Okay, so this is about food storage. Then come to the mechanical support. So mechanical support can be take the example of sugarcane or maize plant. When it starts produces large leaves, if the leaves ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಶುಗರ್ ಕೇನಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಭಾರ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ಗೆಟ್ ಲಾರ್ಜ್. ಓಕೆ, ಟು ಅವಾಯ್ಡ್ ದಟ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಬಿಗಿನಿಂಗ್ ಇಟ್ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ದೇ ಸೆಂಡ್ಸ್ ಸಮ್ ವೆರಿ thick roots into the soil. They are wiry ಅಂದರೆ ವೈರ್ ಥರ ಗಟ್ಟಿಯಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ದೇ ಆರ್ ಮೇಡ್ ಅಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಕ್ಲಿರೆನ್ಕೈಮ. ಓಕೆ, ಹಾರ್ಡ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ವೆನ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ಡ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್, ದೇ ಅವಾಯ್ಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್ ಲಾಡ್ಜ್ಡ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಲಾಡ್ಜ್ ಆಗೋದನ್ನು ಅವಾಯ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದೀಸ್ ಟೈಪ್ ಆಫ್ ರೂಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ಟ್ ರೂಟ್. ಸೊ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ಟ್ ರೂಟ್ ಕುಡ್ ಬಿ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ಶುಗರ್ ಕೇನ್. ಶುಗರ್ ಕೇನಲ್ಲಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಮೇಯ್ಸಲ್ಲಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಮೊನೊಕಾಟ್ಸ್ ದೇ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ಟ್ ರೂಟ್. ದೆನ್ ಒನ್ ಮೋರ್ ಟೈಪ್ ಆಫ್ ರೂಟ್ಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ಆರ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ big trees. Okay, suppose if you consider a banyan tree, in banyan tree it shows the huge branches. ಈ ಥರ ತುಂಬ ದಪ್ಪಾಗಿರುವಂಥ ಬ್ರಾಂಚಸ್ನ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಇನ್ ದ ಬಿಗಿನಿಂಗ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್, ಬಟ್ ಲೇಟರ್ ವಿತ್ ಅ ಗ್ರೋತ್ ಇಟ್ ಎನ್ಲಾರ್ಜಸ್ ಇನ್ ಇಟ್ ಸೈಜ್. ಈ ಥರ ಸೈಜ್ ದೊಡ್ಡದಾಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಸೈಜ್ ದೊಡ್ಡದಾಯಿತು ಅಂದರೆ ಆ ಭಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಬೀಳೋ ಚಾನ್ಸಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಟು ಅವಾಯ್ಡ್ ದಟ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಬಿಗಿನಿಂಗ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ಇಟ್ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್, ನೋಡಿ ಇಷ್ಟು ಚಿಕ್ಕದಾಗಿದ್ದಾಗಲೇ ಇಟ್ ಸೆಂಡ್ಸ್ ಸಮ್ ರೂಟ್ ಡೌನ್ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಗ್ರ್ಯಾಜುಯಲಿ ಈ ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಚ್ ಕೂಡ ದೊಡ್ಡದಾಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅಟ್ ದ ಸೇಮ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಸೊ ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಎನ್ಲಾರ್ಜಸ್ ಇನ್ ಇಟ್ ಸೈಜ್. ಇದು ಮತ್ತೆ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ ದೊಡ್ಡದಾಯಿತು, ತೂಕ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಯಿತು, ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಇನ್ ದ ಬಿಗಿನಿಂಗ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಪ್ರಿಪ್ರೇಟರಿ ಮೆಕ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ ಇದು, ಮೊದಲೇ ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಸೈಜ್ ದೊಡ್ಡದಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಐ ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಸೊ ಗ್ರ್ಯಾಜುಯಲಿ ವೆನ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಟಚಸ್ ದ ಸಾಯಿಲ್, ದೀಸ್ ರೂಟ್ಸ್ ಟಚಸ್ ದ ಸಾಯಿಲ್, ದೇ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಗ್ರೋ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೇ ಬಿಕಮ್ ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ ಲೈಕ್. ಗ್ರ್ಯಾಜುಯಲಿ ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ ಥರ ದೊಡ್ಡದಾಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ ಇದು. ಸೊ ಈ ರೀತಿ ದೇ ಗಿವ್ ದ ಮೆಕ್ಯಾನಿಕಲ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಮೆಕ್ಯಾನಿಕಲ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟಿವ್ ರೂಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಪ್ ರೂಟ್ಸ್. ದೇ ಆರ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಪ್ರಾಪ್ ರೂಟ್ಸ್. ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ದಿಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಪ್ ರೂಟ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಫೈಕಸ್ ಬೆಂಗಾಲೆನ್ಸಿಸ್. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಲದ ಮರ, ಅರಳಿ ಮರ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಕೂಡ ಇದೇ ಕ್ಯಾಟಗರಿಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಅಂಥ ರೂಟ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಪ್ರಾಪ್ ರೂಟ್ಸ್. ದೇ ಮೀನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಮೆಕ್ಯಾನಿಕಲ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್. Then they come to respiration. Since a root are negatively geotropic, but on plants were there where it produces negatively geotropic. Okay, so ಇದು positively geotropic normal root, but it produces negatively geotropic and it grows in the soil where salinity is more. Soil ಅಲ್ಲಿ salinity ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಸೊ in the water ಅಲ್ಲಿ. Okay, so those it produces the branches and those branches of only roots. So ಈ ಥರ branches ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So those branches of a root start produces vertical roots. ಈ ಥರ vertically they start produces the roots. Okay, so ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ರೂಟ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So these vertical grown roots are called as nematophores. So those are nematophores. Nematophores. These nematophores are nothing but respiring roots. Okay, so since the plant is growing in the saline water, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಲೀಫ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಟರ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಸಲೈನಿಟಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಆಲ್ ದ ಸಾಲ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಅಕ್ಯುಮುಲೇಟೆಡ್ ದೇರ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಲೀಫ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಅಕ್ಯುಮುಲೇಟ್ ಆಗಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸ್ಟೊಮ್ಯಾಟೊ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಆಗಿಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸಮ್ಟೈಮ್ಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟ್ ದ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಗೆಟ್ ದ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್. ಸೊ ವೇರ್ ನೆಮೆಟೋಫೋರ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ನೆಮೆಟೋಫೋರ್ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ನ ತೊಗೊಂಡು ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಟು ದಿಸ್ ಲೀಫ್ ಆರ್ ಇವನ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ದೇರ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ gaseous exchange takes place through nematophore in such plants called as respiration. Remember, they are nematophores. These nematophores are observed in mangrove plants. Mangrove plants. Sundari plants antive. So example for this is rhizophora. In rhizophora you can observe that respiratory roots. Okay, so next come to photosynthetic root. Okay, so in very few plants you can observe photosynthetic roots. So photosynthesis, okay, especially in case of the plant called Tinospora and Trapa. Tinospora ಮತ್ತು ಟ್ರಾಪಾ ಅನ್ನೋ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟಲ್ಲಿ ರೂಟ್ ಈಸ್ ರೆಸ್ಪೈರಿಂಗ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಸರಿ ಫೋಟೋಸಿಂಥೆಟಿಕ್. ಈ ಟೀನೋಸ್ಪೋರಾ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಎ ಕ್ಲೈಂಬರ್, ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಮೃತ ಬಳ್ಳಿ ಅಂತೀವಿ. ಆ ಕ್ಲೈಂಬರಿಂದ ಥಿನ್ ಲೂಟ್ಸ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಂಗ್, ಈ ಥರ ಹ್ಯಾಂಗ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಯೂಶಲಿ ಅದು ಬೇರೆ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಮೀನಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಲೈಂಬ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಈಗ ಸಪೋಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಕ್ಲೈಂಬರ್ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ, ದಿಸ್ ಕ್ಲೈಂಬರ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಥಿನ್ ರೂಟ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಗ್ರೀನ್ ಇನ್ ಕಲರ್. ಸೊ ದೋಸ್ ರೂಟ್ಸ್ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮ್ photosynthesis. Okay, so ಇದನ್ನು assimilatory roots ಅಂತ ಕೂಡ ಕರೀತೀವಿ. Photosynthetic roots are also called as assimilatory roots. So next is Trapa. It is a hydrophytic plant. It also produces the root. They perform photosynthesis. So example for that. Okay, so this is about certain modifications of the root for different purposes. Okay. So next part is stem. Move on to the next part, that is stem. So stem is produced from plumule part of the embryo, plumule developed into stem, plumule to stem during germination. Okay, so in character the stem do when compared to root, what are all the difference? So stem has cuticle irutte, cuticle present on stem, cuticle is present, then nodes and internodes present, nodes and internodes present, then nodes and internode present, then bears leaves, it produces leaves in produce ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, then it produces roots as well, roots in produce ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, those roots are called as adventitious roots ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. Then this root can be used as a vegetative propagule ಆಗಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, and it is negatively geotrophic, positively phototrophic. Okay, then so these are the major function. The major function of a stem is to bear the leaves and help the leaves for exposed to light and perform the photosynthesis. That is the main function. Okay, so and also produces flowers and fruits that helps in reproduction. Okay, so this is the actual function of stem, and of course conduction of water and food conduction, So these are the functions of, so this is one function, then bearing leaves, so both are the major functions of root. Apart from this, so root stems are going to be modified into different types for different function. Okay, so let me begin with the modification for food storage. Okay, so food storage ge modify ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. So different plants shows different structures to store the food. Okay, so let me take sugarcane directly the whole stem store the food, and it bulges after storing the food. That is one thing. So next, in case of some plants, they produces tubers for food storage. Okay, so best example is potato. Okay, so potato helps in food storage. Okay, so apart from that, there is modification called rhizome example ginger. So this adventitiously growing stem. Then corn, okay, huge stem which store the food, example is amorphophallus. So amorphophallus ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Then so these are certain modifications in the stem which meant for food storage. So along with this tuber, rhizome, this sugarcane, tuber, rhizome, corm, they can also be used as vegetative propagules. Okay, yeah. So food storage as well as vegetative propagule. Okay, so this is one kind of modification for food storage as well as vegetative propagules. So in case of sugarcane, it bears nodes and internodes. Okay, so nodes ಮತ್ತು internode ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So this internode part, this is the internode part. This internode part cannot be used for vegetative propagation. So only this nodal part with the bud can be used as vegetative propagule. In the potato, you might observe some eye-like structures. Then eyes anta heltivi. So this can be cut out and can be planted to get the new plant. So only small part of the tuber along with this eye is enough to get the new plant. Okay, then a rhizome. In case of rhizome, it shows the branches like this, and it has the scaly nodes and internodes and scaly leaves. This tip can grow further and produces the leaves. Okay, so under unfavorable condition it grows under the soil. During favorable condition the tip can grow outside and produces the green colored leaves. Okay, so it also acts as a perinating structure. Andre adverse condition na overcome ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರೋ structure. Then corm is also a huge structure, whereas rhizome grows horizontally, whereas corm grows vertically. Okay, so it also produces the branches like this. So during favorable condition it produces huge leaves which came out. Okay, so ee riti roots ella irutte, adventitious roots were grown. That is about corm. Okay, yeah, so this is for food storage. So this is underground modification actually. So this comes under underground modification. Okay, so modification can be classified in case of stem modified into underground modification, such as rhizome, tuber, then corm. Okay, so these are example for underground modification. Then come to subaerial modification. So subaerial modification is just above the soil anteli. So this subaerial modification can be further classified into a runner, stolon, offset, sucker. Okay, runner, stolon, offset, and sucker. Yeah. So what is a runner? So of course remember all these are modification of branches, auxiliary branches, auxiliary buds or auxiliary branches. But auxiliary buds andre leaf axil alliruvanta buds galu it should be grown into branch. So it branch agi grow agbekirutte. So instead those are modified into different purpose. Okay, so nodona idರಲ್ಲಿ. So runner ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, main plant illirutte. So auxiliary branch instead of growing erect, it grows horizontally, and at the nodal part it produces the roots, adventitious roots, and it helps in growing of a new plant there. If you cut it, you can grow it as a new plant. So this is called a runner. So runner is common in oxalis and grasses. Okay. Okay, so next to stolon. So stolon is observed in the strawberry. So where auxiliary branch instead of growing erect, it grows obliquely. Nenpitkolli idan oblique grow agutte. So it grows obliquely with the leaf. When it touches the soil, it produces the roots and growing into a new plant. Again it grows like this. So this is example for stolon. Okay, so stolon is observed in strawberry. Okay, next come to the offset. So in offset, a tuft of actually there are certain plants which have the petiole like the bulged petiole like this and leaves. So this is the actual leaf, this is petiole. So and it produces tufts of leaves. Okay, so it produces the branch. Nodi the main plant ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ, plant ಮೇಲೆ leaf ಇರುತ್ತೆ, it produces a leaf like this. Axil of a leaf instead of growing like this, it grows like this. Okay, so ಈ ರೀತಿ grow ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, and at the tip it carries small leaflets with roots. Then it further grows. ನೋಡಿ horizontal grow ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, then it produces the leaves. Okay, so this structure is called as offset. Okay, so that helps in growth of that plant. So within a short span of time it grows in water itself. So within a short span of time it can spread over the larger area of water. So example, ಐಕಾರ್ನಿಯಾ ಆರ್ ಪಿಸ್ಟಿಯಾ ಅಂತ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಇದೆ. ಎರಡರಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಈ ಥರ ಆಫ್ಸೆಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕಮ್ ಟು ಸಕ್ಕರ್. ಸೊ ಸಕ್ಕರ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಸಿಮಿಲರ್ ಟು ದಿಸ್ ರನ್ನರ್, ಬಟ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಸಬ್ಟರೇನಿಯನ್. ಇದು ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಕೆಳಗಡೆನೇ ಗ್ರೋ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಬ್ರಾಂಚಸ್ ಇದು ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಹೀಗಿದೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಈ ಬ್ರಾಂಚ್ ಈ ಥರ ಹೋಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಅಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗೋ ಬ್ರಾಂಚಸ್ ಈ ಥರ ಹೋಗೋದ್ರ ಬದಲು ಇಟ್ ಗ್ರೋಸ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ದ ಸಾಯಿಲ್. ಓಕೆ, ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಒಳಗೆ ಫುಲ್ ಕವರ್ ಆಗಿಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಅಂಡರ್ ದ ಸಾಯಿಲ್ it produces the branch, that branch produces the root, then new plant emerge out of that. Okay, so that is called sucker. Okay, so example for sucker is chrysanthemum. Example is chrysanthemum. Okay, so runner oxalis and grass, stolen is strawberry, opposite is eichhornia, sucker is chrysanthemum. Okay, so these are example for Siberian modifications. Runner, stolen, offset and sucker. Okay, so next come to aerial modifications. So in aerial modification, it is completely present outside the soil, where it grows into different structures for a different purpose. Okay, so hope you understand underground modification, subaerial and subaerial modifications. Let's move on to aerial modification. So in the aerial modification, different parts of the plant like a leaf maybe get modified or branches maybe get modified, but here we are talking about the stem. So branches, how they are modified, let's see. So in aerial modification, so axillary bud, so axillary bud means the bud which is present at the axil of leaf. The axil of leaf aliruvanta ಬಡ್ಗಳು. So the function of this axillary bud is to grow into branch. ಇದು branch ಆಗಿ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು. So this is the main function, okay, of the axillary bud. But here this axillary bud shows the different types of modifications. Okay, so let's see what are those modifications. So it get modified into spine, or it may be get modified into tendril. Okay, so here this axillary branch, instead of developing into axillary branch, it may be shows modification like spines and tendrils. Okay, so spines, the bud, axillary bud modify into spines. Itra mullagi modify ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. So the example is bougainvillea. Bougainvillea is the example for the modification, and even you can give the citrus. Citrus same kind modification irutte. And in some plants, that axillary bud, especially in the climbers, okay, so leaf axil in the bud enagirutte, bud is going to be formed. Instead of growing into branch, it starts produces the tendril. Okay, so this is tendril, so this is the spine. So it can be observed in cucurbits. So cucurbits andre the group of plants like ridge gourd, bottle gourd, snake gourd, like that ಎಲ್ಲ gourds ಗಳು GOURDS gourds ಗಳು, they are called as cucurbits. So cucurbits ಅಲ್ಲಿ axillary bud is modified into tendril. So this is one kind of modification with respect to axillary bud. So sometime the whole plant, leaf, stem modified to leaf, stem ಮೇಲೆ modify ಆಗಿ leaf ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. So it is in case of opuntia. Okay, the modification type stem modified into leaf is called as phyloclade. ಅದನ್ನು phyloclade ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. So in opuntia, actually it has nodes and internodes, ಹೌದಾ? ಸೊ ಇದ್ರ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಲೀಫ್ಗಳು ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಬೇಕಿತ್ತು, ಈಗ ಈ ಥರ ಲೀವ್ಸ್ಗಳಿರಬೇಕಿತ್ತು. ಬಟ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಇಟ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಫೈಡ್ ಇನ್ ಸಚ್ ಅ ವೇ ದಟ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ಲೂಡಿಂಗ್ ಅ ಬ್ರಾಂಚಸ್. ಈಗ ಇದು ಬ್ರಾಂಚ್ ಆಗಿ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗಬೇಕಿತ್ತು, ಈ ಥರ ಲೀಫ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಅದೇನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಲೆಟ್ ಅಸ್ಯೂಮ್ ದಿಸ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ ಬಲ್ಜ್ಡ್. ಸೊ ಈ ಥರ ಬಲ್ಜ್ ಆಗಿಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಬಲ್ಜ್ ಆದಾಗ ಇಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಲೀವ್ಸ್ಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಟೆಡ್ ರ್ಯಾಂಡಮ್ಲಿ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್. ಈ ಥರ ಲೀವ್ಸ್ಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಲೇಟರ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಮಾಡಿಫೈಡ್ ಟು ಸ್ಪೈನ್ಸ್, ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಪೈನ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಮಾಡಿಫೈ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಬ್ರಾಂಚ್ ಇದು ಕೂಡ ಎನ್ಲಾರ್ಜ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇಟ್ ಅಪಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್. ಸೊ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್ ದ ಹೋಲ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಫೈಡ್ ಇಂಟು ಸ್ಟೆಮ್. ಇನ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಆಫ್ opuntia, that is called as phyloclade. Stem modified to leaf is phyloclade. So these are certain modifications in case of stem. Okay. Yeah, so hope you got the different types of modification. Remember, tendril modification is not only observed in stem, even leaf are also get modified into tendril. Okay, so this is about here you need to remember the examples. Spines ige bougainvillea ಮತ್ತೆ citrus, tendril ige cucurbits. You can remember stem modified to leaf is called as phyloclade. So ಅದೇ ಥರ one more is there, internode modified to leaf. Okay, so what is that internode? You know, stem nalli nodes matte internodes irutte. Okay, so in one plant it shows the branches, ಓಕೆ ಸೊ ಬ್ರಾಂಚಸಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಥರ ಇಂಟರ್ನೋಡ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಬಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಇಂಟರ್ನೋಡ್, ಬಟ್ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಇಂಟರ್ನೋಡ್, ದಿಸ್ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಇಂಟರ್ನೋಡ್ ಮಾಡಿಫೈ ಇಂಟು ಲೀವ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್. ಸೊ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಅದು ಮಾತ್ರ ಲೀಫ್ ಥರ ಮಾಡಿಫೈ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಡೋಕೆ ಲೀಫ್ ಥರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಬಟ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಇಂಟರ್ನೋಡ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಇಂಟರ್ನೋಡ್ ಮಾಡಿಫೈ ಟು ಲೀಫ್ ಲೈಕ್. ಸೊ ಇಂಟರ್ನೋಡ್ ಮಾಡಿಫೈ ಟು ಲೀಫ್. ಇಂಟರ್ನೋಡ್ ಲೀಫ್ ಆಗಿ ಮಾಡಿಫೈ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಆಸ್ಪರಾಗಸಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಆಸ್ಪರಾಗಸ್. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಟೈಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಡಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್, internode modified to leaf, is called as cladode. ಇದನ್ನು ಕ್ಲಾಡೋಡ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್, internode modified to leaf is called as cladode. Stem modified to leaf is phylloclade. One more is there called a phylloid, where petiole modified to leaf. Okay, so these are the modifications of stem. So next part of the plant, that is leaf. Next part is leaf. So if you draw the structure of a leaf, so leaf has the structure. It has a midrib and blades, or it is called as a lamina or veins and veinlets. Okay, so the midrib, these are veins, these are branches called veinlets. Okay, so ee riti irutte. So this is called leaf blade or leaf margin, and this is leaf base. Okay, a leaf base jotege small appendage is going to be produced. A leaf na protect madlikke chick bud condition alli. This is called stipule, and one bud is there called as axillary bud. Okay, yeah, so entire lamina, this is called lamina. Okay, so this if the leaf has a single lamina, it is called simple leaf. Okay, but sometimes this lamina may be divided into different parts. But the leaf ide anta ankolli, midrib, and it has veins like this. Okay, so during course of evolution, ಈ veins ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ, this ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಸಿಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಲೀಫ್ ಒಳಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಹೀಗೆ. ಬಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ಸಿಷನ್. ಓಕೆ, ಹೋಪ್ ಯು ಗಾಟ್ ಇಟ್. ನೋಡಿ ಗ್ರೀನ್ ಕಲರ್ ಬರೀತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಸೊ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಇನ್ಸಿಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಲೀಫಲ್ಲಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಗ್ರ್ಯಾಜುಯಲಿ ದಿಸ್ ಇನ್ಸಿಷನ್ ರೀಚ್ ದ ಮಿಡ್ರಿಬ್. ಇದು ಮಿಡ್ರಿಬ್ನ ರೀಚ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಹಿಂಗೆ. ಸೊ ಅವಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ದ ಲೀಫ್ ಬಿಕಮ್, ಅಂದರೆ ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿ ಮಿಡ್ರಿಬ್ ಇರುತ್ತೋ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಲೀಫ್ ಥರ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇದು ಇನ್ಶಿಯಲಿ. ಸೊ ಫೈನಲಿ ಇಟ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ ದ ಕಾಂಪೌಂಡ್ ಲೀಫ್. ಅಫ್ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಇದು ಒಂದೇ ಸರಿ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಇಟ್ ಡ್ಯೂರಿಂಗ್ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಎವಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಪ್ರೋಸೆಸ್ ಟೇಕ್ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್. ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ ಕಾಂಪೌಂಡ್ ಲೀಫ್. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಟೈಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಲೀವ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಕಾಂಪೌಂಡ್ ಲೀಫ್. ಕಾಂಪೌಂಡ್ ಲೀವ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಕಾಂಪೌಂಡ್ ಲೀವ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಯಾಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂದರೆ, here lamina is divided into many leaflets. So these are called leaflets or pinna. Okay, so ee riti divide agutte. So based on that, leaves can be classified into simple leaves and compound leaves. Simple leaf, then compound leaves. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಈ ಥರ ಒಂದು ಇದನ್ನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮಿಡ್ರಿಬ್ ಆಗಿರುವಂಥದ್ದು ಫೈನಲಿ ಇಟ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ ರ್ಯಾಚಸ್. ಇದನ್ನು ರ್ಯಾಚಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಈಗ. ಓಕೆ, ಇಫ್ ಎ ಲೀಫ್ ಆನ್ ಅ ರ್ಯಾಚಸ್ ಆನ್ ಬೋತ್ ದ ಸೈಡ್, ಓನ್ಲಿ ಒನ್ ಲೇಯರ್ ಆಫ್ ಅದರ್ ಪೇರ್ ಆಫ್ ಲೀವ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ಡ್. ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನು ಯೂನಿಪಿನ್ನೇಟ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಯೂನಿಪಿನ್ನೇಟ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಕೆಲವು ಲೀವ್ಸ್ಗಳಿರುತ್ತೆ ನೋಡಿ, ರ್ಯಾಚಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ರ್ಯಾಚಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಬ್ರಾಂಚಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಆ ಬ್ರಾಂಚ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಲೀಫ್ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ಥರ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನು ಬೈಪಿನ್ನೇಟ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಬೈಪಿನ್ನೇಟ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇನ್ ಸಮ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ವರ್ ದೇರ್ ಇದು ಮತ್ತೆ ಬ್ರಾಂಚ್ ಆಗಿ ಆ ಬ್ರಾಂಚ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಬ್ರಾಂಚ್ ಆಗಿ ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಲೀಫ್ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ಥರ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಟೈಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಲೀವ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಟ್ರೈಪಿನ್ನೇಟ್. ಓಕೆ. ಸೊ ಯೂನಿಪಿನ್ನೇಟ್ಗೆ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಕರಿ ಲೀವ್ಸ್. ಓಕೆ. ಸೊ ಬೈಪಿನ್ನೇಟ್ಗೆ ಗುಲ್ಮೊಹರ್, ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಗುಲ್ಮೊಹರ್. ಟ್ರೈಪಿನ್ನೇಟ್, ಓಕೆ, ಬೈಪಿನ್ನೇಟ್ ಮತ್ತು ಟ್ರೈಪಿನ್ನೇಟ್ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ drumstick plant. Okay, so it is drumstick plant is a best example. Okay, so like that lamina is divided into many leaflets. To make it a simple leaves are compound leaf. Okay, so drumstick do moringa anta ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. moringa oleifera. Bipinnately compound leaf, tripinnately compound leaf. Okay, so like that. So simple leaf you can give the example of mango. Compound leaf curry leaves. So most common nodiranthadu curry leaves is the example for that. Okay, so the main function of the leaf is to perform photosynthesis. Apart from that, it can also perform different function with respect to their modifications. Okay, so let's see the modifications of leaf. ಸೊ ಲೀಫ್ ಏನೇನೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಿಫೈ ಆಗಿರಬಹುದು ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಸೊ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಲೀಫ್ ಮಾಡಿಫೈಡ್ ಟು ಸ್ಪೈನ್ ಆ್ಯಸ್ ಇನ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಒಪುನ್ಷಿಯಾ. ಸೊ ಒಪುನ್ಷಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಫ್ಲಾಟೆಂಡ್ ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಏನು spines irutte, actually they are modified leaves. The function of modified leaves to spine in case of opuntia is to avoid transpiration. Water loss na avoid ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕೆ leaves are modified to spine there. Okay, so leaf modified to tendril for mechanical support. So tendril, so plant nalli leaflet irutte, compound leaf irutte. So one of the leaflet is get modified into tendril. So idana leaflet modification. Leaflet ಮಾತ್ರ modify ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, entire leaf ಅಲ್ಲ, only tip of the leaf. So this is tendril. Okay, so this is observed in pea plant, in the Pisum sativum. ಅಂದರೆ ಪಿ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಕೇಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಅಂದರೆ ಲೀಫ್ಲೆಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಫೈಡ್ ಟು ಟೆಂಡ್ರಿಲ್ ದೇರ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಅದೇ ಥರ ಇನ್ನೊಂದಿರುತ್ತೆ ಲೀಫ್ ಟಿಪ್ ಮಾಡಿಫೈಡ್ ಟು ಟೆಂಡ್ರಿಲ್. ಲೀಫ್ ಟಿಪ್ ಟೆಂಡ್ರಿಲ್. ಈ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟಲ್ಲಿ ಲೀಫ್ ಈ ಥರ ಎಂಟೈರ್ ಲೀಫ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಬಟ್ ಟಿಪ್ ಮಾಡಿಫೈಡ್ ಟು ಟೆಂಡ್ರಿಲ್. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಗ್ಲೋರಿಯೋಸಾ ಅನ್ನೋ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟಲ್ಲಿ ಲೀಫ್ ಟಿಪ್ ಈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಫೈಡ್ ಟು tendril. Okay, then leaf modified to store food. Leaf modified to store food. So food na store ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕೂ ಒಂದಿಷ್ಟು ಮಾಡಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದ ಫೆಮಿಲಿಯರ್ ಒನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲರ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡೋವಂಥದ್ದು ಆನಿಯನ್. ಸೊ ಆನಿಯನಲ್ಲಿ ಲೀವ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಮಾಡಿಫೈಡ್ ಟು store the food. Okay, then okay, so leaf modification ಆಯಿತು. modification to protection ಅಂದರೆ spines. modification for protection is spines. modification for mechanical support or climbing, it is tendril. modification for food storage, that is onion. Okay, so this is one case. And that leaf petiole modified to leaf. Okay, petiole modify ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. So as in case of acacia, it has the petiole and leaflets. tip ನಲ್ಲಿ ತರ leaves ಇರುತ್ತೆ, compound leaves. Okay, so later that leaf will get fall off. ಈ ಲೀಫ್ಗಳು ಬಿದ್ದೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಫಾಲ್ ಆಫ್, ಟಿಪ್ಪಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಲೀಫು ಅರ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟೇಜಸಲ್ಲೇ ಬಿದ್ದೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ನಾವು ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ petiole. This petiole enlarges and become leaf-like. Okay, so here it is modified petiole. Modified petiole. So ಇದನ್ನು ನಾವು phyllodes ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. It is called phyllodes. It could be seen in acacia. So acacia plant ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಥರ ಕೇಸಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಅದನ್ನೇ ಲೀಫ್ ಥರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಫೈಡ್ petiole. Okay, so leaf petiole itself modified to leaf. Actual leaf fall off, petiole become leaf. Okay, so next to catch insects. Insects na trap ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ leaf modification ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, as in case of pitcher plant. Pitcher plant, then Dionia, ಅಂದರೆ Venus flytrap. Venus flytrap ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Then Utricularia, Drosera. So these are some examples for insectivorous plants, which actually the main part of the plant which modified to the catch insect is leaf only. So leaf modified to different parts. So here in case of a pitcher plant, it produces a normal leaf with lamina, but this midrib can grow further and it can modify into the structure like this. Okay, so that is in case of pitcher plant. Whereas in the Dionia, in case of Dionia, it has the leaf with the petiole. Okay, so that is get modified to capture the insect. So ಇದರಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಈ ಥರ spines develop ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. So it can close like this. So there is Dionia. In case of Utricularia, Utricularia is a rootless plant, grows in water. So in Utricularia, leaf is get modified into bladder. So very small structure actually. So ಈ ಥರ bladder ಆಗಿ modify ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. That is what is called as bladder wort. In case of Drosera, on the leaf, in case of Drosera, on the leaf, trichomes are there. These trichomes produce a sticky structure. Okay, trichomes to the sticky glands irutte. When insect fall on this, it get trapped and close it and absorb the nitrogen. Remember, this leaf modification to capture the insect did not mean that insects are the food for this plant. So they capture the insect and digest it only for nitrogen, because the plants which are insectivorous, they grows in nitrogen less soil. Nitrogen kadime iruvanta ಜಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಳೀತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, and even nitrogen is present, the roots are unable to transport them. So that is the reason why they depend on insects for a nitrogen source. Okay, so the leaf ಆಯಿತು. So if any modifications were there, we can study with the questions ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದಾಗ. Okay, so next is phyllotaxy. leafally phyllotaxy, forgot it. So phyllotaxy, it is arrangement of leaves on stem. Leaves on stem. Suppose these are the three cases. Here are the leaves. This is one case. So remember, early leaves arise ಆಗುತ್ತೆ stem ಮೇಲೆ, that is called node. Okay, so these are all nodes. If then each node produces one leaf. ಒಂದು ನೋಡಿಂದ ಒಂದೇ ಲೀಫ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆದರೆ it is alternate. If a single node produces two leaves, it is opposite. If a overlap leaf, many leaves, even 4 leaves are going to be produced from a one node, it is called a whorled. Whorled ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. So example for alternative, it is hibiscus, and for opposite guava, then calotropis, ಎಕ್ಕದ ಗಿಡ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ calotropis ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Then old example Nerium or Alstonia. So like that we can give the example. So this is about the phyllotaxy. So similarly, flowers are also arranged on axis. That axis arrangement of flowers is called inflorescence, but here arrangement of leaves is called phyllotaxy. So the venation is also there. So So arrangement of vein and veinlet. Okay, so based on that we have two types. One is parallel, another one is reticulate. So parallel andre on leaves, either the venation start from the base of a leaf and reach the tip parallelly. This is also kind of parallel venation. And one more kind is there, prominent midrib like structures were there, and it has broad lamina. So from midrib to margin leaf veins are run like this. So this is also example for parallel venation. Okay, so monocot have that parallel venation, the banana leaves. Okay, so in banana leaves also it has a monocot venation. So presence of parallel venation is a characteristic feature of monocots. So similarly reticulate venation, in reticulate venation there will be a prominent midrib and it shows the branches. So on the branches again it shows further branches called as veinlets. So like that reticulate venation is there in all dicots. Okay, of course some exceptions were there. So even though some are monocot, they shows reticulate venation, and some monocots shows reticulate venation, and some dicot shows parallel venation. A few exceptions were there. Okay, so next comes to the inflorescence. So inflorescence, it is arrangement of flowers on rachis, or it is simply clusters of flowers. Okay, so inflorescentially basically we have two types. One is a raceme, another one is cyme. So racemose and cymose. Racemose and cymose are the two types of inflorescence. In racemose, axis can grow continuously, athwa it is having acropetal order or acropetal succession, whereas cymose has basipetal succession. So cymose has basipetal succession. Okay, so what is acropetal succession? Older at base, younger at the tip, younger at tip. So whereas in basipetal, older at tip, younger at base, younger at base. Okay, so let me represent it by diagram. So long axis can grow continuously, older flowers are present at the base and buds are present at the tip. Okay, similarly here older flower present at the tip, older flower present at the tip, younger buds are present at the base. So this is older, this is young. So here older, this is young. Okay, so like that older flowers tip ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ರೆ ಅದು racemose, older flower base ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ರೆ cymose. Okay, so ಇದು basic type. One more important ಅಂದ್ರೆ this here it can grow continuously. Okay, axis can grow continuously, but in cymose axis ends with a flower. At the base it shows the branches of for flower buds. Okay, so ಇದೆರಡರಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತೆ different types were there again. So let me discuss very few. That is a special type of inflorescence. So special type of inflorescence. So there is one special type of inflorescence where it look like a fruit but it is not a fruit. Okay, so at the base, ಇದನ್ನ total receptacle ಅಂತೀವಿ. At the base pistillate flowers were there. ಈ ಥರ pistillate ಇರೋ flowers ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So you don't have calyx, corolla and all. At the tip stalk is there, no calyx and corolla, stamen will be there. So ಈ ಥರ ಇರುವಂಥ inflorescence ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So this type of inflorescence, actually the whole thing is an inflorescence called as hypanthodium. It is called as hypanthodium inflorescence. Flowers, remember those flowers, they don't have any calyx, corolla and stalk. These are male flowers. So here in male flowers it has a stalk called a flower stalk. Flower stalk ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಒಂದು ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಸ್ಟಾಕ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So it represents the female flower without calyx and corolla. If calyx corolla ಏನು ಇರಲ್ಲ, but it produces only stamens. Okay, so ಈ ರೀತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So this represent stamen. So this is the stalk of a stamen, this is stalk of a flower, stalk of ಫ್ಲವರ್. ಓಕೆ, ಅಂದರೆ ನೋಡಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟಾಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಇದೆ. ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಈ ಥರ ಕೇಲಿಕ್ಸು ಕರೋಲಾ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬರಬೇಕಿತ್ತು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಫಿಲಮೆಂಟ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಆ್ಯಂಥರು ಈ ಥರ. ಆದರೆ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಯಾವುದೂ ಇರಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ ಫ್ಲವರ್. ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ ಒಂದು ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಎ ಫ್ಲವರ್. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಹೈಪಥೋಡಿಯಮ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಒನ್ ಮೋರ್ ಇನ್ಫ್ಲಾರೆಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದೇರ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಸಯಾಥಿಯಮ್. In Cyathium, the same case. So there also male flowers are represented by stamen itself. But this stamen matra irutte, it represents male flower. Okay, and a single female flower is present. Tricarpellary iruvanta single irutte. Tricarpellary iruvanta single female flower. So it has a stigma. So this is female flower. This one is female flower. These are male flowers. Okay, ಅದರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇಟ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಅ ನೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಕಪ್. ಈ ಥರ ಒಂದು ನೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಕಪ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಟು ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ದ ಇನ್ಸೆಕ್ಟ್. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಸಯಾಥಿಯಮ್ ಇನ್ಫ್ಲಾರೆಸೆನ್ಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದ ಇನ್ಫ್ಲಾರೆಸೆನ್ಸ್. ಲೆಟ್ ಕಮ್ ಟು ದ ಫ್ಲವರ್. Move on to the flower. So flower is a modified stem. Okay, so modified shoot rather. So it has essential and non-essential whorls. Essential and non-essential whorls. So essential whorls are directly involved in sexual reproduction. Non-essential whorls are not directly involved in sexual reproduction, but they assist essential whorls. Okay, so those essential whorls are nothing but androecium and gynoecium. Okay, so non-essential whorls are calyx and corolla. So androecium is a collective term. Individual structure is stamen. Similarly, gynoecium is a collective term. Individual term is either pistil or carpel. Okay, ಅದೇ ಥರ calyx individual structure is sepal. Corolla individual structure is petal. If you cannot differentiate a sepal and a petal, okay, one more condition is there called as a tepal. Okay, so the individual member perianth anta heltivi. In perianth, calyx and corolla not distinguished. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಲಿಕ್ಸ್ ಯಾವುದು ಕರೋಲಾ ಯಾವುದು ಅಂತ ಒಂದೂ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗದೇ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಆ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ನ ಪೆರಿಯಾಂತ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿಸ್ ಪೆರಿಯಾಂತ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಟೆಪಲ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ stamen consisting of one stalk and a filament. So it has a stalk called filament and it has anther. So this is the structure of stamen. Then pistil consisting of a bulged portion called ovary, style and stigma they have. Okay, so this is ovary, style, then stigma. Okay, so ಇದು monocarpellary, single carpel ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So this is single carpel. So this is carpel. Okay, sometimes bicarpellary condition is also there. ಎರಡು ಕಾರ್ಪಲ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಯುನೈಟ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. So this is called bicarpel. So ಅದೇ ಥರ bicarpellary, tetracarpellary, pentacarpellary, polycarpellary, like that. If the carpels are united, that is called syncarpus. ಇದನ್ನು syncarpus ಅಂತೀವಿ. Sometimes two carpels are, even though they are present together, they are separated like this. So ಈ ಥರ ಇತ್ತು ಅಂದರೆ it is called apocarpus. Bicarpellary, apocarpus condition. So one more condition is there, multicarpellary but apocarpus. Carpus ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ but they are united. As in case of Michaelia, you learned in second year chapter. Okay, ಅದನ್ನು ಓದಿದ್ದೀರಾ ನೀವು. Okay. Then with respect to stamens, if a single flower consisting of many and stamens, ಈ ಥರ ಫ್ರೀಯಾಗಿರೋ ಸ್ಟೇಮನ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ ನೋಡಿ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಸ್ಟೇಮನ್ಸ್. ಈ ರೀತಿ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಮನ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಪಾಲಿಯಾಂಡ್ರಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಪಾಲಿಯಾಂಡ್ರಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ with respect to their fusion, androecium forms the single bundle. ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ಬಂಡಲ್. ಅಂದರೆ ಮೆನಿ ಸ್ಟೇಮನ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಆಲ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೇಮನ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ಬಂಡಲ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್. ಈ ರೀತಿ ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದು ಬಂಡಲ್ ಆದರೆ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾನೋ ಅಡೆಲ್ಫಸ್. ಸೊ ಮಾನೋ ಅಡೆಲ್ಫಸ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ ಇನ್ ಐಬಿಸ್ಕಸ್. ಸೊ ಐಬಿಸ್ಕಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಆಲ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೇಮನ್ಸು ಒಂದೇ ಕಡೆ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಥರ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಗಿ ಟಿಪ್ಪಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆಂಥರ್ಸ್ ಗ್ರೋ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಸೊ ಆಂಥರ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ದೆನ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಸ್ಟಿಗ್ಮಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾನೋ ಅಡೆಲ್ಫಸ್. ದೆನ್ 2 ಬಂಡಲ್ಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಇದು ಒಂದು ಬಂಡಲ್ಲು ಒಂದೇ ಫ್ಲವರ್ನಲ್ಲೇ, ಜೊತೆ ಇದು ಒಂದು ಬಂಡಲ್ಲು, ಇದು ಒಂದು ಬಂಡಲ್ಲು. ಸೊ ರೀತಿ ಮೆನಿ ಬಂಡಲ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಮಾನೋ ಅಡೆಲ್ಫಸ್, ಪಾಲಿ ಅಡೆಲ್ಫಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಪಾಲಿ. ಸೊ 2 ಬಂಡಲ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ, ಸಾರಿ ಟಾಕಿಂಗ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ 2 ಬಂಡಲ್ಸ್. ಸೊ 2 ಬಂಡಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಸಪೋಸ್ 10 ಇದೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ 9 ಒಂದು ಬಂಡಲ್ಲು, ಒಂದು ಸಪರೇಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ 2 ಬಂಡಲ್. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಡೈ ಅಡೆಲ್ಫಸ್. ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಡೈ ಅಡೆಲ್ಫಸ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್. ಓಕೆ, ಇಫ್ ಎ ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸಸ್ ಮೆನಿ ಬಂಡಲ್ಸ್, ನೋಡಿ ಈ ಥರ ಮೆನಿ, ಒಂದು ಕಡೆ ಒಂದು ಗ್ರೂಪು, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು 5 ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಗ್ರೂಪು, ಈ ಥರ ಒಂದೇ ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಮೆನಿ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಪಾಲಿ ಅಡೆಲ್ಫಸ್. ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಪಾಲಿ ಅಡೆಲ್ಫಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಪಾಲಿ ಆಂಡ್ರಸ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನು ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ಫ್ಲವರ್ಸ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಪಾಲಿ ಆಂಡ್ರಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಮಾನೋ ಅಡೆಲ್ಫಸ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಆ್ಯಸ್ ಇನ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಐಬಿಸ್ಕಸ್. ಸೊ ಡೈ ಅಡೆಲ್ಫಸ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಇನ್ ಫ್ಯಾಬೇಸಿ ಮೆಂಬರ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಪಾಲಿ ಅಡೆಲ್ಫಸ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಸಿಟ್ರಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Okay, so this is about the united structures of androecium. So androecium to fuse it together to form a single bundle or many bundles. Based on that we have a different names for that. Okay, yeah. So and calyx, corolla, their arrangement on a flower is called as arrangement of sepals and petals on flower is called as aestivation. Okay, so in aestivation, if all the sepals and petals are not overlapped, they are free, it is called a valvate. If one petal is overlapped by other continuously to form a cyclic ring, it is called as twisted. It is called a twisted aestivation. One in, one completely out, remaining or alternate anta andre such type of inflorescence. ನೋಡಿ, ಒಂದು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಇನ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಔಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ಥರ ಇರುವಂಥ ಅರೇಂಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್, ನಾಟ್ ಇನ್ಫ್ಲೋರೆಸೆನ್ಸ್. ದಿಸ್ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಅರೇಂಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಇಂಬ್ರಿಕೇಟ್. ನೋಡಿ, ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಪೆಟಲು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಓವರ್ಲ್ಯಾಪ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಪೆಟಲ್ಸ್ ಇಂದ ಒಂದು ಎಲ್ಲಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಹೊರಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಇಂಬ್ರಿಕೇಟ್ ಎಸ್ಟಿವೇಷನ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಒನ್ ಮೋರ್ ಇಸ್ ದೇರ್, ಒನ್ ಲಾರ್ಜರ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ ಪೆಟಲ್ ಇಸ್ ದೇರ್, 2 wing petals were there and 2 united petals were there. So this is called a standard petal. So this is wing petal. And one more for boat like structure called keel petal. So ಈ ರೀತಿ ಅರೇಂಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇರುವಂಥ ಫ್ಲವರ್ಸ್ ಇದನ್ನು ವೆಕ್ಸಿಲರಿ ಈಸ್ಟಿವೇಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೆಕ್ಸಿಲರಿ ಈಸ್ಟಿವೇಷನ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೇರ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ಸ್, ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ವಿತ್ ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟು ಫಿಲಮೆಂಟ್ ಹೈಟ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್. ಫಿಲಮೆಂಟ್ ಹೈಟ್ ಚಿಕ್ಕದು ದೊಡ್ಡದು ಇದ್ದರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಸಮ್ ಟೈಮ್ 4 ಲಾಂಗ್ ಸ್ಟೇಮನ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, 2 ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟೇಮನ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಇದು ಒಂದು ಕಂಡೀಷನು. 4 ದೊಡ್ಡದಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಸೊ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಟೆಟ್ರಾಡಿನಮಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಅದೇ ಥರ 2 ಲಾಂಗ್ 2 ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಡೈಡಿನಮಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ಟೆಟ್ರಾಡಿನಮಸ್. ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಡೈಡಿನಮಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಡೈಡಿನಮಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ಸಾಲ್ವಿಯಾ, ತುಂಬೆ ಗಿಡ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಆ ಥರದ್ದು ಕೆಂಪು ತುಂಬೆ. ದರ್ ಆಸ್ ಟೆಟ್ರಾಡಿನಮಸ್ ಆ್ಯಸ್ ಇನ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಸ್ಟರ್ಡ್. ಸೊ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ವಿತ್ ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟು ಫಿಲಮೆಂಟ್ ಲೆಂತ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಆಯಿತು, ಕೇಲಿಕ್ಸ್ ಆಯಿತು, ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಆಯಿತು, ಆಂಡ್ರಿಶಿಯಮ್ ಗೈನೇಶಿಯಮ್ ಆಯಿತು. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಸೀಡ್. ಸೊ ಸೀಡಲ್ಲಿ ಆ್ಯಸ್ ವಿ ನೋ, ಸೀಡ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಅ ಸೀಡ್ ಕೋಟ್. ಸೀಡ್ ಕೋಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಸೀಡ್ ಕೋಟ್ನ 2 ಲೇಯರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅಫ್ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನಾಟ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಷಿಯೇಟ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ, ಬಟ್ ನಾವು ಬರೀತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಔಟರ್ ಕೋಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಟೆಸ್ಟಾ, ಇನ್ನರ್ ಕೋಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಟೆಗ್ಮಾ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಈ ಎಂಬ್ರಿಯೋ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಈ ಥರ. ಸೊ ಎಂಬ್ರಿಯೋ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಹೈಲಮ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್. ಹೈಲಮ್ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಸ್ಟಾಕಿಗೆ ಅಟ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಫ್ಯೂನಿಕಲ್ಗೆ, ಆ ಪಾರ್ಟು, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಹೈಲಮ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಮೈಕ್ರೋಪೈಲ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ದೇರ್. ಸೊ ಮೈಕ್ರೋಪೈಲ್ ಕೂಡ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದ ಸೀಡ್. So little bit the structures you studied in second years, that is presence and absence of endosperm and all. So next let's come to fruit. So fruit is a matured ovary. Okay, so depending on the nature of pericarp, so pericarp is a fruit valve. So this pericarp can be divided into exocarp, mesocarp and endocarp. Pericarp na divide ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. Depending upon the pericarp nature, whether it is fleshy or hard, the fruits can be divided into dry fruits and fleshy fruits. Okay, so dry fruits ಅಂದರೆ pericarp ತುಂಬ ಹಾರ್ಡ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, fleshy fruit ಅಂದರೆ pericarp ಸ್ಮೂತ್ ಇರುವಂಥದ್ದು. So if you consider mango is an example for fleshy fruit. So this is outer exocarp, and that edible part which is present inside, that edible part is mesocarp, and that very hard structure inside, what enta heltivalla, that is endocarp. So similarly coconut also have exocarp, mesocarp and endocarp, where no one is edible. So in case of coconut, it is endocarp, highly hard, chippu anta heltivo, that is endocarp. Inside it has kernel, that white color is kai anta helti, actually tintivalo kai, that is kernel, and it is surrounded by fibers. Okay, so that fibers forms, nodi ta juttu anta heltivalo hegirutte. So that fiber forms the mesocarp, and outermost is exocarp. So similarly banana, endocarp and mesocarp are edible there. Okay, yeah, so this is about the fruit. So different types of fruits are there, false fruit and true fruit. The one which is developed directly from ovary is a true fruit, which is developed from any part of the ovary any part of the flower other than ovary is false fruit. Apple is one example for that, where the edible part is developed from thalamus. So similarly different types of fruits were there. Let me discuss a few. Like there is a fruit called akin. So drupe, you are familiar with that. So drupe is developed from monocarpal superior ovary. Mango and coconut are example for drupe. Akin is the dry indehiscent fruit. Dry indehiscent ಅಂದರೆ ಓಪನ್ ಆಗದೇ ಇರುವಂಥ ಫ್ರೂಟ್ ಇದು. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಅಕೀನ್. ದೆನ್ ಸೊ ಇವನ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಫಾರ್ ಅಕೀನ್ ಅಂದರೆ, ನೀವು ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಬೆರಿ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಆ ರೆಡ್ ಕಲರ್ ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಫ್ರೂಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಕಲರ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ದೇ ಆರ್ ರೆಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಅಕೀನ್ಸ್. Okay, so that's a type of fruit actually, that is a false fruit actually. Okay, then berries. So we came across the berries. So in case of berries, outermost is smooth usually, and inside pulp will be there. Those are called as berries. Tomato is the best example for berry. So that's it. Next was 3 families you studied. You studied 3 families: Fabaceae, Solanaceae and Liliaceae. Okay, so important character ಮಾತ್ರ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ. So with respect to flower, Fabaceae has keel petal, wing petal, then standard petal, I missed. Standard petal, keel petal, wing petals ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಡೈಅಡಲ್ಫಸ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಮಾನೋಕಾರ್ಪೆಲರಿ ಓವರಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಮಾನೋಕಾರ್ಪೆಲರಿ ಓವರಿ. ಸೊ ಅದೇ ಥರ ಸೊಲೆನೇಸಿನಲ್ಲಾದರೆ ಸೇಮ್ ಟೈಪ್ ಪೆಟಲ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅಂತ ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಸ್ ಇರಲ್ಲ. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಪಾಲಿಯಾಂಡ್ರಸ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ವೇರ್ ಸ್ಟೇಮನ್ ಅಟ್ಯಾಚ್ಡ್ ಟು ಪೆಟಲ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಎಪಿಪೆಟಲಸ್. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಹಿಯರ್. ಇಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ epipetalous condition and bicarpellary. Carpellary is bicarpellary and obliquely placed. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕ್ರಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ and oblique. ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಟ್ ಇರಲ್ಲ, ಆಕ್ಸಿಸಿಗೆ ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಟ್ ಆಗಿರಲ್ಲ ಓವರಿ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕ್ರಾಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ದೆನ್ Liliaceae, it is antiphylous condition. It has antiphylous condition. Then with respect to stamens, many stamens were there, and with respect to carpel, it is tricarpellary. Okay, so ಈ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ನೋಡಿಕೊಂಡು we can identify the plant. So Fabaceae all pulses are Fabaceae. Tomato they belongs to Solanaceae. Liliaceae ಅಂದರೆ onion, asparagus, gloriosa, they belongs to Liliaceae. So here we can identify the placenta as well. Okay, so in gynecium you have different types of placenta, arrangement of ovules called as placenta. Central axis ಗೆ ovules ಎಲ್ಲ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಅಟ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ವಿತ್ ಕಂಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್, 2 ಕಂಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಬೈಕಾರ್ಪುಲರಿ ಅಂತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಪ್ಲಾಸೆಂಟಾ ಇಯರ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಸ್ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಆಕ್ಸೈಲ್ ಪ್ಲಾಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್ ಅನ್ನೋದೊಂದಿರುತ್ತೆ. ದೆನ್ ವಿತೌಟ್ ಎನಿ ಸೆಪ್ಟಾ, ನೋಡಿ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಸಲ್ಲಿ ಅರೇಂಜ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ವಿತೌಟ್ ಎನಿ ಸೆಪ್ಟಾ. ಇದು ಸೆಪ್ಟಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸೆಪ್ಟಾ ಇದೆ, ಇದು ಸೆಪ್ಟಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಫ್ರೀ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್. ಇಫ್ ದ ಓವ್ಯೂಲ್ಸ್ ಅಟ್ಯಾಚ್ಡ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಇನ್ನರ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಎ ಓವರಿನ ಇನ್ನರ್ ವಾಲ್ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಅಟ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದರೆ ಈ ಥರ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನು ಪೆರೈಟಲ್ ಪ್ಲಾಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಪೆರೈಟಲ್. ಇಫ್ ಓವ್ಯೂಲ್ಸ್ ಅಟ್ಯಾಚ್ ಟು ಮಾರ್ಜಿನ್, ನೋಡಿ ಈ ಥರ ಮಾರ್ಜಿನ್ಗೆ ಅಟ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದರೆ ಮಾರ್ಜಿನಲ್ ಪ್ಲಾಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್. ಅಥವಾ ಫ್ರೂಟ್ನ ಬೇಸಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಥರ ಬೇಸಲ್ಲಿ ಸೀಡ್ ಅಟ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದರೆ, ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಬೇಸಲ್ ಪ್ಲಾಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್. ಸೊ ಲೈಕ್ ದಟ್ ಮೆನಿ ಟೈಪ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ಲಾಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್ were there. So basically 5 types of placentation you studied. Okay, so this is all about the brief of the plant morphology of flowering plants with respect to their different structures. Of course we cannot give the full details of the plant, so we can brief it only. So let me discuss remaining thing with respect to their multiple choice questions. Okay, thank you.